Okay, we rolling. So tell us your name and where are you from?
Yeah, Anna DeShawn, Chicago.
Per, what part of Chicago?
Southside all day.
Per only. So I'm Quasheba. I use they them pronouns. I'm from Maryland. So what brings you to the Saving Ourselves Symposium?
I came last year and I began capturing stories for our podcast, and I, I don't know, I fell into this beautiful community of people. And then I was able to come back this year, and it's sort of like a full circle moment to be back. Now the podcast is out, and I get to see everybody that we talk to, and also help to deepen relationships that I started last year. So it's really dope to be back.
I love that. And like for people who are not familiar with the podcast, can you give like the name and shout out and all of the socials for it?
Oh yeah, for sure. So it's called Black HIV in the South. How did we get here? It's a 4-part limited series where we talk about the history, the fear, the community, and the solutions around Black HIV and what's happening specifically in the South. And it really, when I came here last year, it really touched my spirit and about what's happening and how we weren't talking about it in Chicago.
Yeah.
And I was like, we should be talking about this. So we did. We published a series. It actually got picked up by Urban One Podcast Network. So you can go listen to it everywhere, wherever you get your podcasts. And I'm excited about building on it, but I think it's pretty dope. And it's award winning now. So we actually won 2 awards for the pod.
Congratulations, Big Purr. So what does it mean to exist at the intersection of Black while identifying along the LGBTQ plus spectrum?
It means we amazing. It means we at the intersections of culture. We create culture. I think we're beautiful. We got mad superpowers to be great.
I love that.
I think the world sees whatever they want to see. I think people who are transphobic and homophobic and xenophobic and allophobics, they see what they want to see. But I think at the heart of it, we know who we are. And I think we're divinely and wonderfully made.
I love that. And also, like, how does it feel to be Black queer in Chicago? And as you live or visit different parts of the South, like, does your experience kind of change a little bit? I was curious about that. Like, how does it feel to be Black and queer in Chicago? And do you see any differences when you're in the South?
In Chicago, we're incredibly affirmed. Politically, legislatively, we have opportunities for community, all the parties, child. It's a place to be.
Yeah.
And I think it's a refuge for people in the Midwest to come to Chicago and find community where they cannot find it in their own communities. I think in the South, I was just incredibly surprised at the number of Black queer communities that exist in the South, right? So I was able to go to the kickoff in Jackson, Mississippi, and my family's from Mississippi. And so to be queer in Mississippi in that moment, it really warmed my heart because I didn't know that was a possibility. So those are also the stories I want to tell. Everyone makes this. We want to seem as though there's a scarcity situation, but I believe we are always busy creating communities and spaces for us to be brave. And I just think people don't know about it. And I think that's my job.
I appreciate that. And yes, a lot of Black people from Chicago during the Great Migration came from Mississippi. Love that. So why is it important to elevate Black queer voices? Kind of talk a little bit about it. So can you talk more about it, like elevating our voices?
We live by the stories we're told. If we don't tell our stories, somebody else will, and they will inevitably leave us out. And we know that to be the case. So the work that I do with radio and podcasting is so that our stories can live on forever, so that no one can say we weren't here, that we weren't doing amazing work, because we are. And so for me, that's at the heart of why I do what I do and why it's so important. Our perspectives are unique to us. Yeah. And if you don't hear our perspectives, you're missing out on probably the whole picture, because most of us are living on the margins. Most of us are being underrepresented in our legislative houses. All these things are happening. So we have a voice and we're speaking, and I feel like I'm called to amplify that. And so I think we're doing beautiful things that people need to know about.
So our last question is going to be, what does saving ourselves mean to you?
It's empowering. We don't have to wait on anybody else. We ought not wait on anybody else. Otherwise they will let us die. Yeah. So it is about us taking the narrative and taking control over our own lives. I think it's perfect. It's beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Hey. Appreciate you sharing your truth. I love that.
Thank you. Oh, also, you got to go listen to the podcast.
Yeah, zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, you got to go listen to the podcast.
I might take one, actually.
Oh, please,
I'm gonna take
as many as you want to help spread the word.